Alright, hello, so if you follow this channel, then you probably also follow the RHCPTV1 channel, which posts a lot of great Chili Peppers content and really put the content into new context, which really makes you think differently about certain aspects of, the band. And one great example that I stumbled upon very recently was the video where John made his guitar sound like a synth, and I was really fascinated by that jam that they performed, and I studied that sound and I felt like I should be able to pull that off myself, because as you're familiar with, I have collected a lot of different Frusciante like effects. So I started to analyze it, and from what I could see, he used the Moogerfoogers. You can kind of clearly see that he turned some knobs on the Moogerfoog line of his pedalboard, and I think that he used the Murph pedal that I have here. I have the MIDI version and he didn't have that version, but they are essentially quite similar to what he used. And the reason I think he used this pedal is, well, you can quite clearly in one segment see that first it looks like he pull these sliders up and down, which doesn't change the sound that much, and then you can kind of see that he goes to the left of the pedal and turns a knob, which I think is the envelope knob, and then it goes from quite stuttery to a more even sound, so it kind of changes the sound quite drastically. And we can take a listen to this now. And if I try to emulate this myself, I get this result. So to me it really seems like he turned this envelope knob, because I really get a similar result. And just in general, I think that the sound effect really sounds like the Moogerfoog Murph, after using this one for years myself. And now I will plug in this pedal to illustrate how it works. And by no means do I claim that I know exactly how John set his pedal up, but I do think that I got a general understanding of how he used the effect, which is what I will demonstrate now. Alright, so for this demo I simply chose to loop an open high E string, because then I think it becomes easier to focus on what the effect is actually doing. And you can note that the mix is turned all the way up, so we get only the wet sound, which I think is good to get this stuttering kind of effect. And the pattern is set on 1, which means that this pretty much just is an EQ without any animation. So if we move all these sliders down, it means we have no volume anywhere in the frequency range, so we get no sound. But if we turn this one up, we amplify only the highest frequency, and if we turn this one up, we get the mid-range frequency only, and to the far left we get the lowest frequency only. And if we start to move these other sliders up, we start to obviously mix in different frequencies, and eventually we get the full frequency range. And you can note that we have a lot of different patterns to choose from. So here we actually start to animate these patterns, and I included the patterns from the manual here, so you can kind of see or get an idea of all the crazy sounds we can get. So if I'm quiet now, you can notice what kind of crazy sounds we get. But to achieve Frusciante's kind of sound effect, the stuttering effect, I am not sure exactly what he did, but I think it's appropriate to use this one, number 2, this staircase effect, because if you take a listen, you can note that it is very even, and I like to remove every other frequency to get a more dotted kind of effect. I'm not sure if this is exactly how John did it, but I thought it worked quite well for me. And now we get to the envelope, which in short you can say affects the attack and decay when you move through each filter according to this figure up in the right corner. And basically when we get close to 0 and 10, we get very choppy sound because we have a short attack and decay. But when we get towards the middle, towards 5, we get slower attack and decay, so yeah, it doesn't become as choppy. And when John did the jam, I think you can hear that he moved this knob around quite a lot. And then finally we get to the rate, which is quite self-explanatory. I think it affects how fast we move through these filters, and towards the end of the jam I think you can hear John turns this up to get that cool effect right before he turned the pedal off. Right, and to wrap this video up, I kind of like to conclude that I think it's really cool how John managed to, you know, use really crazy effects like these, because from experience I know that it is really easy to get lost in the effects, and then the effects kind of start to manipulate you rather than you manipulating the effects. And you know, it's kind of easy to kind of lose touch with what you want to express, and then you know, then the effects just take over and you don't really successfully express something cool. You just create a bunch of random sounds. But you know, I think John, when he was in the Peppers and used all these cool effects, you know, like throw away your television effect and all, and this jam effect, it's really cool how he managed to, even though those effects are really crazy, he really managed to, you know, incorporate them in a way that really makes sense to his style. And I'm really surprised that I haven't really stumbled upon using the Murph like this before, because I have owned this for years but never really used it like this. And I'm really happy I found this video, because you know, that RHCP TV1 uploaded, because it's opened up a new door for me on how I can use this pedal. And I think this kind of sound effect can be really useful for future stuff. And that is my conclusion for the video. So hopefully it was helpful and interesting to you, and if it was, please leave a like for the algorithm, and I'll see you in the next one.